Hello and welcome back to Real People. This is episode 2, Joker Review. Now before we get into the video, I just gotta say we had some technical difficulties and the camera stopped recording. Because of this, much of what you will see in this review is all about Joker as a film and Joker as a film about the Joker, the DC character. I just want to issue a disclaimer before this review. Joker has a harmful depiction of mental illness, in my opinion. It didn't seem to make any attempt to narrow down what Joker's mental illness was. It just referred to it as a mental illness, which that is a very broad term. There are a large variety of vastly different mental illnesses, and there are millions upon millions of people with mental illnesses that have no inclination to go on any murder spree, and I think lumping them in with a homicidal and genocidal maniac is pretty harmful. It felt very much like the message could be misconstrued as treat people with mental illnesses as people or they will go shoot a bunch of people and start a class war, which I think that is a harmful message, even if it wasn't intended. So I just wanted to say that before we get into it. Enjoy the video. Hello, welcome back. This is Real People. I'm your host, Sam Elkins. I'm joined today by the one and only Jake Wolf. This is the show where I just have people on. We just talk about movies we've seen. This week, we're doing the one and only Joker with Joaquin Phoenix. Some initial thoughts coming out of Joker. It felt very long.
I felt a lot like the movie was building up to something that didn't happen.
Yeah.
And so I felt like the movie was long because, maybe in fitting fashion for the character, but I was waiting for the punchline. Do not expect to see a movie rich in the character or rich in the lore. It felt like kind of the character of the Joker and the world that they had created the movie in some ways detracted from the message and the story they were trying to tell. They limited themselves by basing it around the character of the Joker.
Yeah. Another thing I didn't really like about it is that the only character that felt even remotely fleshed out was Joker. Every other character in that movie was like two-dimensional or like was there to serve just one purpose. They were either like just jerks, and then that was like their whole character. And then there was Joker, where they like really fleshed out who he was. The whole movie was comprised of intimate shots of Joaquin Phoenix. You can see the emotion on his face and his body movements, and that was really impressive. But you can't make a movie solely with that. What are some good things? What are some things that you did enjoy about the film?
The movie, in a lot of ways, portrayed the character the best that we have seen. I think the movie's biggest strength is it definitely keeps you on the edge the whole time.
Yeah.
It's
very uncomfortable to watch.
Yeah. I mean, you're really waiting for something really bad to happen.
Mm-hmm. One obvious thing that I think most people can appreciate, at least, about the film was Joaquin Phoenix's performance. So you could see that he was actually feeling those emotions on his face and like I said, in his body movements as well. I think if they had utilized that a little differently, then I think it could have been one of the definitive Joker performances.
I thought it did a very good job of telling an original story about the character and kind of spinning a different view that you wouldn't expect. I thought it was refreshing, especially after coming off of Endgame and off of all of the Infinity Saga. I thought it was a very good balance between kind of the Tim Burton Gotham and the Christopher Nolan Gotham.
Yeah.
I thought it did a good job of distancing itself from our reality, but not diving into Tim Burton.
Yeah, and that, I think, almost makes it more disappointing to me that they didn't follow through because they were really close. They had a few moments where you did get to see kind of the chaos of Gotham, but they didn't go through with it all the way as much as I wish they had, and that kind of makes it more disappointing because it's like I wanted more of some of the things that they did and some of the things that they really drew out. I feel like they could have cut back on.
Right.
Yeah. Alright, so that's all the time we have for the spoiler-free section. Now it is time to talk spoilers.
Oh boy, I'm just going to jump on my soapbox here for a
Yeah,
second.
go for it.
So kind of something I explained to you before we saw the movie is everyone's interpretation of the Joker is different. And I think that's something that's really important about the character. To me, I view the Joker more as a force of nature. I mean, especially in response to Batman. Joker's whole point throughout a lot of comic book tropes is that him and Batman are exactly the same, just opposite sides of the coin. So, for example, Batman had his parents killed, as everybody knows. And Ben Affleck's Batman says something along the lines of, my parents taught me a lesson, which was dying in the gutter for no reason at all. The world to him makes sense if you force it to make sense. Whereas the Joker is the complete opposite. They both agree that the world initially does not make sense. And while Batman forces that sense of meaning and order, the Joker surrenders to the idea, the chaos that nothing exists. Mm-hmm. And by surrendering to that, he feels free. And so his whole MO as a character is to prove that him and Batman are the same. And the moment in the film that I really saw that relationship was when Arthur goes to Bruce Wayne and sees him there. I thought that was very good symbolism because they were both on separate sides of the bars, showing they're going to be both on separate sides of the law. And if you saw what the Joker did, is he put his thumbs in Bruce Wayne's mouth and lifted up in a smile like he had done to himself, showing that while they're always on different sides of the line, the Joker wants to show that they're the same.
Yeah.
However, kind of going into the Joker as a character in the movie, when I was saying earlier, when I said it was an interesting take on the character, is I think it kind of, we imagine the Joker as like this intelligent mastermind who is orchestrating all of these things, and while he leaves things up to chance, like while he has a plan that he loves to throw out the window, he still is intelligent enough to understand the reasoning behind the plan, the reasoning behind what he's doing.
Yeah.
And people follow him as a result.
Yeah.
So what I thought was interesting is, all these other stories that examine the Joker and his relation to the world portray him as that. Mm-hmm. But this movie that kind of follows the Joker and his psyche a little bit, I mean, you see he's still held up in the same regard at the end of the film when he's on top of the car. But while the outsiders think that he has orchestrated this movement and all these things have happened, he just is crazy. He just doesn't know.
Yeah.
So I thought that was an interesting take.
Yeah. Yeah, they almost made it seem like he just fell into this position that sparked this movement, and then it just felt like he was just the schmuck that happened to incite it.
At the end, when he's in that car, he's portrayed very much like a Christ-like figure.
Yeah, yeah.
And I thought that was very symbolistic, where he gets hit by the car, and it's like he dies.
Yeah.
He's placed on the hood of the car, and when he stands up, Arthur Fleck is dead. He takes the blood and makes the smile to show the Joker is alive.
Yeah. And then you'd think that was the character that I went to that movie to see.
Yeah, and
we didn't get him till like the last few minutes.
I imagined the movie more as 25% of what Arthur Fleck was and what led him there.
Yeah.
And 75% of the Joker in relation to the world.
Yeah.
And that's kind of going into what I think you said earlier, where it's like the characters didn't feel fleshed out.
Yeah.
That's like, well, when you imagine all the good Joker stories, I mean, in movies you have The Dark Knight. The Joker is interesting because of the way he interacts with the world and the world's response. Yeah. Same with Jack Nicholson's Joker. Yeah. I mean, he's interesting due to his relation to Batman.
So its message, it felt very much like its message was simply empathy, like understanding what somebody else is going through. How can you preach empathy when you're only looking through the lens of one character? The whole point of empathy is looking through multiple lenses, through different people's eyes.
I agree with that. But at the same point, I think that's very Joker of it.
Yeah.
Where it's like, you're watching this whole thing, and it doesn't make sense to you just as much as it doesn't make sense to the Joker. Mm-hmm. Like the way the movie was kind of written out, is that you and the Joker are both seeing what's happening through the Joker's eyes.
Yeah.
At the end, when he's laughing about a joke and she asks what it is and says he won't get it, that was very reminiscent of the Killing Joke as well.
Yeah.
The final joke at the end. Which I guess if you see it as kind of bookends, where you look at this is the inception of the Joker and Batman, because it really was. As much as it was an origin story for the Joker, it was also an origin story for Batman. Mm-hmm. I mean, you saw his parents getting gunned down as a result of the Joker. And that's kind of what I was talking about earlier when I said they're kind of both sides of the coin. You can make the argument that one could not exist without the other. Mm-hmm. And so the Joker causing that movement to happen that eventually killed Bruce Wayne's parents, causing him to be Batman, would make sense. Mm-hmm. You know, I like that they didn't take the Tim Burton route and have the Joker directly kill his parents.
Yeah, that's what I thought they were going to do.
I thought that would have been too cheesy, but I thought it made perfect sense that somebody as a result of the movement, you know, as a result of the movement that was representing all loss of morality or order, kill his parents. And that would make sense why Batman would overcorrect that.
Yeah. And that almost kind of inverts what you're saying, what you've said before, how Joker's not Joker without Batman. In this, it's Batman's not Batman without Joker.
Right.
Going back to Bruce Wayne's parents, I'm sick of seeing that scene of his
I know
parents
you are.
getting gunned down. We've seen that so many times, the pearls flying everywhere, like we get it.
They could have just showed that they were seeing Zorro and walking into the alley.
Yeah.
And I think I think some people would have missed it, but I think a lot of people would have got what was happening.
And that whole movie there's a lot of subtlety in that film, so it would have made sense for them to just show them walk into the alley. But I think that might have been a bit of like fan service, like, oh yeah, see, remember this is in the DC universe. We're not just saying it.
What's your view on the way that interaction between Murray, which is kind of what, in my opinion, Arthur Fleck sees as his father figure, and the Joker on that show? Like, what do you think of that scene?
I thought that was one of the few moments that was very, very well written. And I don't remember if you said this or somebody else, but it felt like that scene was written, and then they were like, how do we build a movie around this? That was one of those moments that felt like the Joker.
I thought that was the scene that really embodied the character.
Yeah.
Because the Joker is uncertain. You don't know what he's going to do.
Yeah.
He's supposed to be unhinged.
Yeah.
And so when you're in there, I mean, you think he's not going to kill himself, but you don't know.
Yeah.
You know, especially if you're going in with the idea that this is set outside.
Yeah.
This is before Batman.
Yeah.
Maybe he does kill himself. Is Jared Leto the real Joker, you know?
Yeah.
He's going in, and he's making jokes that aren't landing, but he obviously thinks they're funny.
Alright everybody, that's all the time we have today for Real People Episode 2. Tune in next week where I will be reviewing Zombieland Double Tap. Very exciting film, been waiting for this for 10 years. I've been Sam Elkins. My guest, Jake Wolfo, well, he was there. Thanks for watching.